You literally just became the #1 immortal emperor across all 3 realms. Hadn't even been 5 minutes when your fiancée shows up with some random monk to break off the engagement, talking about becoming a nun and spending the rest of her life with this dude, and threatening to beat you into a cripple if you said no. But instead of blowing up, you just smiled and calmly walked toward your personal 100,000-man Xuanjia army. Today was supposed to be a huge celebration for the Qingyun sect. Their so-called holy maiden had landed herself the young master of Tianlong Temple to celebrate and send a message to every other sect. The sect leader threw a massive banquet and invited elders from all over. But right in the middle of all the toasting and cheering, a servant came sprinting into the hall. Sect leader, it's bad. The Qin Prince just showed up with his army. Every guest's face dropped immediately. They all knew exactly who the Qin Prince was. Meanwhile, the holy maiden Lu Shuanghan frowned, clearly annoyed. Why does this guy keep following me around? I already told him, stop looking for me. And he still shows up? This man just won't quit. Not even a shred of dignity for someone who calls himself the Qin Prince. But she'd completely forgotten. She built her entire cultivation off Tang resources. Even the masters who trained her were Tang royal family elders. While everyone was still processing, a massive boom shook the sky, and countless figures appeared overhead. Leading them all, and was you? The humiliated Qingyun sect leader immediately roared at you. Qin Prince, what is the meaning of this? You answered coldly. You really have to ask? Without another word, your Xuanjia soldiers yanked out their blades in unison, eyes wide open, full-on killing intent. The smart guest got the message immediately and started bowing out. Your Highness, we were just passing through. We'll see ourselves out. The Qingyun sect leader slowly started to calm down. He took one look at the Xuanjia army and his stomach dropped. He was only at Purple Mansion 3rd layer. No match for your Purple Mansion 5th layer guards. But then he caught the encouraging look from the monk Muxing behind him, and suddenly felt untouchable again. He had the young master of Tianlong Temple backing him up. Even the Tang Emperor himself would show respect. Qin Prince, you should head back, don't embarrass yourself. Then Lu Shuanghan looked up at you in the sky and shouted, we are done. There is nothing between us anymore. So why do you keep coming after me? Hearing that, your gaze locked onto her. Staring at this woman who once consumed your every thought, you let out a cold scoff. Everything you owe the Qin Prince, everything you owe me? You think a few words like, we're done is gonna cover that? Every bit of your cultivation was a gift from me. Without me, you and your precious Qingyun sword sect would have been washed out by history a long time ago. Lu Shuanghan had no comeback, not a single word. And the Qin Prince's people were looking at her with pure contempt. You used to be the future lady of the Qin Prince's house. His Highness gave you everything. And now you have the nerve to publicly betray him? You deserve to die for this. She thought having Tianlong Temple behind her meant she could just walk away clean. Leave everything behind without consequences. But now she was realizing you had zero intention of letting this slide. Seeing Lu Shuanghan flustered, Muxing stepped forward. Amitabha, lead benefactor, you're letting attachment cloud you. Everything in this world comes down to fate. You and Shuanghan meeting, falling in love. That was your fate. Now that fate has run its course. Lead benefactor, it's time to let go. Holding on to the past will only hurt you both. You stared at Muxing like he'd just said the dumbest thing you've ever heard. Bro, what the heck are you even on about? If you weren't the young master of Tianlong Temple, I'd have dropped you in a pot of boiling oil already. And what made it even worse? The second Muxing finished talking, Lu Shuanghan started staring at him with those hard eyes, like a teenage girl completely smitten, hanging on his every word. Disgusting. How did I ever fall for this woman? Back in the day, you were done talking. There was nothing left to say. Zhao Gao, Heifu, kill everyone in the Qingyun sect. If even one person escapes, you answer to me. Both of them acknowledged the order and immediately dove down. The Qingyun sect exploded into chaos, screams everywhere. A lot of disciples didn't even have time to react before their heads hit the ground. In just moments, the Qingyun sword sect had taken catastrophic losses. Everyone stay calm. All disciples follow the elders' orders. Form the defensive array. The Qingyun sect leader scrambled to rally the elders and get the formation up. It actually worked. The array was holding, buying them a few moments against the Xuanjia soldiers. But it was never gonna last. Like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Heifu let out a cold laugh, charged up his blade, and unleashed a single slash. A wave of destructive energy tore straight through the crowd. The Qingyun sect leader threw everything he had into blocking it, but still ended up pale-faced, his core foundation shattered. He shot a desperate glance back at Muxing, his eyes screaming one question. Why are you just standing there? Can't you see the Qingyun sword sect is getting wiped out? But he had no idea that Muxing and Lu Shuanghan were both completely pinned down, helpless, because you had your eyes locked on both of them the entire time. Your crushing pressure wrapped around them both, making it literally impossible for them to move. Muxing's expression was grim. He was at Purple Mansion 7th layer. He figured even if he couldn't beat Li Tianyuan, he could at least hold his own. But now that Li Tianyuan was actually standing in front of him, he couldn't even work up the nerve to throw a single punch. Li Tianyuan was definitely beyond Purple Mansion 9th layer. The pressure he was giving off felt exactly like the ancient Grandmaster elders back at the temple. Lu Shuanghan wasn't doing any better. Her face had gone completely white. She'd only just broken through to Purple Mansion 1st layer, way too weak. She couldn't handle Li Tianyuan's pressure at all. If Muxing hadn't been absorbing most of it for her, she'd already be injured. And inside, she was a complete mess. She always thought Li Tianyuan fully trusted her. Every time he broke through, she was the one protecting him. She thought she knew everything about him. But even I didn't know about this? Li Tianyuan, you've been hiding so much. And the reason you were holding them in place, without making a move yourself, was to send a message to the Tianlong Temple agents hiding in the shadows. You were sure whoever was watching could sense it. Your Dao Palace 9th layer cultivation. Forget about whether they could win. Why would anyone in their right mind risk picking a fight with a Dao Palace 9th layer cultivator this young? Just over some small-time Qingyun sect? You'd have to be out of your mind. By now, the Qingyun sect leader had barely recovered his qi and braced for another round. But Heifu just kept coming, relentless, wave after wave. Even with the full power of his sect behind him, the sect leader couldn't hold. He coughed up blood and collapsed to the ground. The moment the disciples saw their sect leader down and barely breathing, the fight drained out of them. The Xuanjia army swept through what was left in seconds. No! Lu Shuanghan screamed, fighting against the pressure with everything she had. She watched as her brothers and sisters fell one by one, saw the elders who'd raised her get cut down. Her eyes swollen red, tears streaming down like a broken faucet. Muxing wanted to comfort her, but couldn't even turn around. All he could do was take on more of the pressure for her. He frantically worked his prayer beads, desperate to reach the temple elders. Nothing? No response? Watching their fellow disciples fall like dominoes, the Qingyun elders and disciples completely broke down. They gave up fighting and started dropping to their knees, begging for their lives. But the Xuanjia army and the Luowang assassins didn't show an ounce of mercy. When begging didn't work, they turned all their rage toward Lu Shuanghan. This is all your fault, Lu Shuanghan. Why did you have to call off the engagement with the Qin prince? If you hadn't gone chasing after someone else, the Qingyun sect and the Qin prince's house would still be tight. You caused all of this. Lu Shuanghan, you selfish woman! You should be the one dying for us. Knowing they were done for, the Qingyun disciples started unloading on Lu Shuanghan, blaming her for everything that had happened. And Lu Shuanghan, watching the people she once called family turn on her like monsters, felt like her heart was being ripped apart. She wanted to end it all right then and there, but couldn't bring herself to do it. Meanwhile, the Qingyun sect leader lying in a disciple's arms caught sight of all this, and his rage exploded, another mouthful of blood. He knew it was over for the Qingyun sword sect. Hundreds of years of legacy, ending on his watch. And there was nothing he could do. He just glared up at Li Tianyuan in the sky, pure burning hatred in his eyes. It's him, it's all because of him. Why do you keep obsessing over my daughter? You're the second prince of the Tang Empire, the Qin prince, Li Tianyuan. You're really lacking for women? My Qingyun sect just called off an engagement. And you want to wipe out our entire lineage? Is there any law left in this world? But his burning glare didn't go unnoticed. You spotted it from above. You frowned and casually launched an attack straight at him. It drove clean through, right into the sect leader's eyes. He immediately writhed on the ground in agony. When he finally looked up again, his pupils were hollow, completely destroyed. Dad! Lu Shuanghan screamed at the top of her lungs. And you released your hold on her, letting her sprint to her father's side. She held him and sobbed silently. You watched all of it, cold as ever. You needed Lu Shuanghan to see every single second of this. Soon the screaming from the Qingyun disciples faded out. The whole sect had become a sea of blood and bodies. In no time at all, Zhao Gao walked over, wiping the blood off his hands, with a big smile on his face. Your Highness, the Qingyun sword sect has been completely cleared out. The only ones still breathing are the sect leader and Miss Lu. You shook your head and pointed in a direction. Zhao Gao, you're still not paying close enough attention. You see that over there? Zhao Gao followed your finger toward a hidden corner and immediately sent an attack blasting into that spot. It blew a massive hole wide open, and inside was